After I did my video on the Seamaster, loads of people were commenting and DMing saying, Seamaster versus Pelagos, what are your thoughts? And that's quite interesting because the Pelagos was the biggest contender against the Seamaster. And it's cool because it means that we're kind of on the same wavelength when it comes to watches. Welcome back to Bark and Jack. I'm Adrian, and the hair is getting out of control again. It's just big. Scotland is in lockdown. We've been in like the biggest lockdown since New Year. I'm just gonna have to cut it myself. That's about as good as it's gonna get. Anyway, I hope you're getting on all right with your lockdown. If you're in lockdown, it snowed here recently, so that was a bit of change of scenery. But today we are looking at two epic watches. Both of these watches are superb. If I hadn't have already bought my Black Bay 58, I probably would have gone on to buy the Pelagos after doing the review of it. But then I am glad that I ended up with this one. I think I've ended up with the right watch. But let me take you through why I think that. Just straight off the bat, both of these watches are great. Genuinely great. You're getting a huge amount of watch for your money, but one is technically better than the other. But then one is more expensive than the other, and so that then comes down to you. The price of something could be a strong factor for you to say that is better because it's cheaper. Let's look at the technicalities, the specifications of these watches and compare them. Let's start off with the cheaper one, the Pelagos. We have a 42mm titanium case and bracelet in a satin finish. It is 14.3mm thick, 50mm lug to lug. We have 22mm lug width, 500 meters of water resistance, and a matte ceramic bezel. We have a helium escape valve at 9 o'clock, but it is flush with the case. The Seamaster is also a 42mm wide case, but it is 13.7mm thick. Lug to lug is slightly smaller at 49.5mm. The lug width is 20mm, and we have 300 meters of water resistance. This has a shiny ceramic bezel. There really aren't big differences between the two of these watches. The Seamaster is 0.6 of a millimeter thinner. It's 0.5 of a millimeter shorter lug to lug. And I guess the benefits really are the fact that the lug width is 20mm as opposed to 22mm on the Pelagos. The benefit of 20mm is simply because, this isn't a plug, not yet, it's simply because there are more straps available for 20mm compared to 22mm. The water resistance of the Pelagos is significantly better, but we are comparing two different levels of watches. We have the dive watches, and then we have the serious dive watches. The Black Bay, Seamaster and Submariner range all fit together, and then underneath that you have the Pelagos, the Planet Ocean, and then the Sea Dweller. Let's look at the bracelets, and both bracelets are technically brilliant. They both have wetsuit extensions and they both have micro adjustments. The Pelagos bracelet is superior in my opinion for three reasons. One, the design. I simply think the Pelagos bracelet is a better looking bracelet. Second reason is I really like the functionality of the micro adjustment. You have this spring-loaded on-the-fly adjustment, and so the bracelet is always hugging your wrist. The third reason is probably the biggest reason, and that's the fact that it tapers. I think a tapered bracelet is more ergonomic, it fits better with the way that your wrist articulates, and then it also just looks like a more refined product. The difference between these two watches I think really stands out when we look at the movements. The movements are very, very different beasts. Again, carrying on the theme, both movements are great. The one is just more superior than the other. So within the Tudor, we have the MT5612, which is an in-house movement. It's COSC certified, so it's accurate to -4 to +6 seconds a day. It has 26 joules, beats at 28,800 vibrations an hour, and it has 70 hours of power reserve. In the Omega, in the Seamaster, we also have an in-house movement. This is the caliber 8800. It's COSC certified and METAS certified, and it is accurate to 0 to +5 seconds a day. We have 35 joules in this one. It beats at 25,200 beats per hour, but it has 55 hours of power reserve. There are a few points to look at between these two movements. A good way to judge how good a movement is a joule count. Technically speaking, a better movement will have a higher joule count. You want as little of metal rubbing against metal as possible, and that's when joules come into play here. You have, rather than metal rubbing against metal, you'll have metal sloshing around in oil within the joule. It basically means that parts will last longer because there isn't so much wear and tear, but the biggest difference for me is the METAS certification. The Tudor isn't METAS certified, it's COSC certified. COSC is good, it shows you how accurate the watch is and that it's been officially tested rather than just being tested by the watch manufacturer itself. Metas has gone that step further. It's kind of the difference between graduating from school and then graduating from uni with a master's degree. Metas testing is far, far harder on the movement and plays around with magnetism and shock. It really does put the movement through its paces, and that's where I feel these watches, these two products, do stand apart. Again, I'm not saying that the Tudor is a bad watch. The Tudor is a phenomenal watch. They are just playing in different leagues. That's just how I see it. And I feel that is why the Omega is justified to be £1,000 more expensive. The Pelagos costs £3,440. The Seamaster costs £4,450. Both of those on bracelets. With both watches, you're getting a huge amount of watch for your money, but you're simply spending more money, but rightly so, you're getting more watch as well. So that's the technicalities out of the way. I'm just going to share my thoughts on the wearability and versatility functionality of both watches. There's something about the Pelagos that I really like. There's something about the design, the really flat toolness, the matteness of it all that really appeals to me. It feels like, as I said in my full review, that it just feels like an out and out tool watch. Everything about this watch has been done for a purpose. The Omega, I don't feel so much it's in that line. I do feel like the Seamaster is a tool watch. It's technically is a tool watch, but what I mean is, if you were to compare it to something like a Black Bay, which is technically a tool watch, but I feel like there are elements of that watch which have been done for styling as opposed to functionality. The Seamaster, although there are a nice amount of elements on it which I feel are there for a purpose, I also feel like there's a lot on there for design. For example, the wave on the dial, that serves no purpose. It looks pretty damn cool, but it serves no purpose. The wearability of these watches is an interesting one. I used to dislike large watches, which both of these are, and the Tudor even more so because the Tudor is thicker and it just wears more chunky because Tudors have quite a slab-sided case. They're fun to wear because they are chunky, because they are beefy, and you feel that heft on your wrist, and I quite like that feeling. Style-wise of these watches, wearability, versatility, I don't think either of these watches are versatile in the slightest. I know a lot of people say that you can wear the Seamaster in lots of different situations. I don't think you can. Maybe the black dial you can. To be honest, I feel like the helium escape valve ruins that versatility because it's such an obvious thing that a tool watch would have, that a dive watch would have, and so it's hard to get away from that look. But I don't think that's important anymore. So few people need to wear suits. So few people are wearing suits, especially with COVID and lockdowns, and companies are getting used to working remotely. Literally a handful of people will need a watch to slide under the cuff now. And so I don't think that versatility element is required anymore. If anything, a watch needs to look good when you're wearing joggers at home. That's probably more important. In all honesty, it doesn't matter about the movement, it doesn't matter about brand heritage. It's the versatility when it comes to straps, which I think is the crucial point. Does a watch suit NATO straps? Does it suit leather straps? Does it need to suit leather straps? Are you just going to keep it on a bracelet? Silly idea. What color of NATO straps? What texture of NATO straps are you going to go for? That's the real burning question. All of these straps you can get over at barkandjack.shop. If you're looking at these two watches for yourself, it doesn't really matter which one you get. You are going to end up with a great watch, and that's just the end of it. I think it simply comes down to what is important for you. I like the movement that is within this watch. That wouldn't, for me, that wouldn't be a purpose for buying one over the other. I'd focus more on the design. What do I like about design? Try them on for yourself and see which one feels better, because they do wear very differently. I can still see myself buying a Pelagos. I can see it fitting within my watch collection. It's titanium. I don't have a titanium watch, and it's just a chunk. It's just a beast, and I like the blue beastie look, the titanium look. I think that whole package is really very, very cool. But for me, technically and aesthetically, I think the Seamaster is just what I would personally choose, but that's just how I see it. Let me know in the comments below which one you'd choose and why. If you like this video, hit that thumbs up button. If you like the style of this video, hit the subscribe button and a little bell icon so you get notifications when I drop a new video. If you want to check out watch accessories and watch straps, jump over to barkandjack.shop. And if you're on Instagram, give me a follow at barkandjack. I'll see you guys next time. Take care.